Hello guys, my name is Shiddesh,
My name is Junison.
coming at you live from Melbourne.
Today we're going to be talking about the science behind lab-grown meat as well as some of the complications behind it.
Imagine the thousands of animals who are killed every day to satisfy our craving of meat. We finally have the capabilities to avoid such an act. The meat grown in our labs are developed from cultured cells, which means no animals are harmed. There have been many different startups which have began, and they have attracted millions of dollars in funding.
If this became more mainstream, this would mean it could eliminate the unethical killing of animals and would considerably reduce the environmental costs in production of the meat. The only resources required to make this lab-grown meat, also called clean meat, are to generate and sustain it. Comparing this to an animal which needs to be sustained from birth, it is an obvious difference in time and effort.
The demographic of this discovery would affect everyone who eats meat. When the production and prices of clean meat are able to drop to a comparable price to natural meat, it would be expected that everyone would transition to eating lamb-grown meat.
There lies a vast environmental benefits in the growing of meat in labs. Firstly, with animal agriculture being such a terrible plague on our environment, our greenhouse gas levels have practically skyrocketed. Scientists have established lab-grown meat. Scientists have estimated lab-grown meat is capable of being produced with over 96% less greenhouse gas emissions. Then comes land use. With acres and acres of the world's farmland practically being developed to animal agriculture, lab-grown meat provides an extremely suitable solution to this problem. Every day our population rises higher and higher. Thus, with more people to feed, it's quite inevitable that our resources will eventually be exhausted. And first of these natural resources to go will be our land.
Lab-grown meat will reduce our land use by over 99%, allowing our land to be used for more practical purposes. This also benefits us in terms of water consumption, as cattle depend quite heavily on water. Again, 96% less water is used in the production of lab-grown meat. The only drawback to lab-grown meat is probably its price at this point in time, with the average burger costing $11 to produce. Scientists such as Mark Post famously crediting the first lab-grown meat is confident that this price will eventually drop to around $65 per kilo.
Lab-grown meat is made by taking a sample from muscle tissue from the desired animal. Stem cells from this tissue is then collected and multiplied by technicians which eventually differentiate into muscle fibers. These fibers then bulk up back into the muscle tissue, which is what we eat. The big meat growing companies such as Mosa Meat has stated that one tissue sample from a cow can grow enough meat to make 80,000 quarter pounders.
In 2013, production of the first lab-grown meat cost $325,000. By 2050, the cost had dropped to around $11. At this rate, it is predicted to take 2 or 3 more decades for this to be commercially viable, but it is predicted to be in restaurants by the end of 2018. Currently, the Future Meat Technologies startup aims to start selling these products by the end of the year. The cost of 1 kg of meat is currently roughly $750,000 from the startup, but it is believed that this will drop to $5 to $10 per kg by 2020. In America, the average price of 1 kilo of meat is roughly $6.50, although the production cost is not directly comparable.
These meats are going to be difficult to mass produce as the production procedure hasn't been finalized and made efficient enough. Mass production would also be held back by the lack of machines used to produce these and by the lack of qualified employees to operate these machines.
Let's get down to the real science behind it. What exactly are cultured cells and how does that relate to lab-grown meat? A video by the Eater article produced by Khushbu Shah describes this process very thoroughly. For this, we have to understand the significance of stem cells that are found in the muscle tissue of these animals. Stem cells are defined as undifferentiated cells of organisms that are capable of replicating themselves indefinitely, thus enabling them to multiply and form muscle fibers and eventually muscle tissue. The muscle tissue extracted from these cows are made up of 2 different types of cells. These cells are muscle cells and fat cells. Scientists then proceed to split these groups, separating the desired muscle cells from the fat cells. The muscle cells are then cultured, which is basically the process of placing cells in favorable environments to cultivate them and thus allow them to multiply. The muscle cells extracted from these cows are placed in a certain substrate made up of essential nutrients such as carbohydrates and amino acids, which create the aforementioned favorable environment, allowing the cells to multiply. These grown muscle cells have a natural tendency to come together into tiny strands called myotubes. The myotubes are then placed in a certain ring of gel, which when coupled with their tendency to contract frequently, allows them to form muscle tissue. The muscle tissue is then specifically manipulated to take on the shape of a hamburger patty, which is the final product we eat in restaurants. The significance of this is the fact that one muscle cell has the capability to form 1 trillion muscle tissue strands, making it far more efficient as well as an all-roundedly better process than animal agriculture.
In conclusion, we believe that lab-grown meat is better than traditional meat in almost all aspects, including efficiency, sustainability, environmentally, etc. It's also, however, millions of times better from an ethical standpoint. Animal agriculture makes up 18% of all greenhouse emissions every year, while transportation emissions only produce 13%. The byproduct of livestock account for 32,000 millions of CO2 per year, or 51%. It's statistics like this that the media never talks about. It's not a coincidence that the 1,100 activists from Brazil alone have suspiciously been killed for speaking out against this atrocity. Animal agriculture is also one of the cruelest and most widespread practices in the world, with thousands of slaughterhouses both in Australia and all over the world, not caring to adhere to or provide for the basic rights that these animals should be entitled to. A great deal of progress that has been made in the last few years alone relating to price reduction to producing lab-grown meat. Many scientists have hailed lab-grown meat as the meat of the future, and based on the facts presented in this video, it's hard to disagree with their opinions. Lab-grown meat will bring revolutionary changes in the next few years alone, not just in the food industry, but possibly by a key step in reducing greenhouse gas emissions and thus eliminating climate change for good.
When these meats become more mainstream and commercially viable, it will be undoubtedly easier to manufacture, which would result in the loss of jobs. People at the bottom of the pyramid when it comes to the production of organic meat will be affected the most, as they most likely wouldn't have the qualification to gain a place in the production of lab-grown meat. Finding another job could also be of great difficulty depending on where they are situated and their qualifications, as most farmers will be found in the outskirts of the city or on countrysides with little qualifications.
Some questions we have regarding these issues are: will people really trust in these labs to provide food for their families to eat every day? Would there possibly be any illnesses or allergies linked to the consumption of these meats? And if it's possible to do a similar procedure with vegetables, and if so, it would eliminate a lot of work and would be more sustainable.
Hello guys, my name is Good.